Hi, everyone. Welcome to your journal assignment overview. Some students tend to struggle with this, so I want to make sure that you have all the information that you need in order to complete this assignment and do really well on it. Now, just remember, if you don't do well on it, I have plenty of students who struggle with this at first, but then they go on and do just fine in the course. So it's a learning experience, so don't worry. All right, so let's talk about what you're going to want to look at. So the first thing is you're going to choose an environmental issue. It does need to be a global issue, but more importantly, it needs to be an issue that has a narrow focus and is something that you are encountering in your daily life and is also something that you are contributing to. And the reason why these are important is because in Module 3, 4, and 5, you're going to actually explore those activities and discuss, how are you potentially either directly or indirectly contributing to the environment issue that you choose. So it's something that you want to kind of keep in the back of your mind whenever you pick an issue. Now, these are some suggestions. So you can choose water pollution, air pollution, sea level rise. Climate change is really popular because it's something that is affecting all of us right now, no matter where you currently live. You can pick microplastics in the ocean, but you have to be, located near the ocean. Same thing with like sea level rise. You can talk about species extinction. The main thing is make sure that you are focusing on a particular thing. So if you decide to do water pollution, you have to identify the specific pollutant. You can't just say the water's dirty. You have to talk about, okay, there's arsenic in the water or there's lead in the water. And it has to be something that is currently happening, not something that happened and, has since been addressed. It needs to be a current problem. Same thing with air pollution. So is it ozone that you're choosing? Are you focusing on particulate matter? So you're just not making like general statements about it. And then same thing with climate change. I get a lot of people who get really excited and they're like, oh my gosh, my state is affected by droughts and wildfires. I'm going to talk about both. Don't do that. Just pick one because it's going to get very overwhelming whenever you get to the, module assignments in 3 and 5 and the final project. If you are focused, if your focus is like so broad and all encompassing. So just make sure that you're focused on one thing, okay? Now, this is not a, thorough list. It's just to kind of get you started and thinking. So if you, think of something that is outside of this list, that's totally fine. And if you want to check in with me before you do it, that's fine too. So a good issue, a good environmental issue is something that is affecting your daily life and something that you are contributing to either in a direct or indirect way. Now, the reason why this part is important is because in week 4, you actually have to discuss this. Like, how are you contributing to this issue? So if you choose something that you don't contribute to, you're going to really struggle in week 4. Okay. Now, I'm not trying to dissuade you from picking a topic that you like. You might have to find an indirect way. So like, for instance, I had a student who picked, they chose, lionfish was overtaking like their community in Florida. And they're like, well, I don't release lionfish. I don't do anything. But I talked to them and I said, well, are you doing anything to fix it? So by you not taking any actions, you are kind of contributing to it. You're complicit in a way. So you can talk about things like that. But just to try and make it a little easier on yourself, try to find maybe something that you're doing. So maybe if you choose water pollution, a way that you could be contributing to it is, like you might leave, pet waste out, and that can wash into waterways and affect water quality. Maybe you accidentally spill oil when you're changing your oil in your water, or maybe you consume too much water. You can get, kind of creative with this. You also want to pick something that is directly affecting your community that you live in, and then is affecting 2 of the 4 ecological processes. Now, this may be new for you, and that's okay. But this does come up and is a major portion of your week 3 and week 5 work. I can go ahead and tell you right now that any issue that you choose is more than likely going to affect the energy flow of the ecosystem and the community dynamics. So energy flow is, is there enough predator and prey species, and that the energy is flowing well through the through the ecosystem to where there's enough, food and clean water and shelter for to support that ecosystem. And that kind of goes into the community dynamics as well. So obviously, if there's any kind of pollution, that is going to negatively impact these two. Now, if you choose any kind of water topic, so like water pollution, even air pollution can affect the water cycle because it will fall into the water. Any kind of like climate change, like all of these things can affect the water cycle. Nutrient cycles are things like the carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle. So if you choose anything about fertilizers or, animal feeding lots, like those greatly affect the carbon cycle. Climate change affects the carbon cycle. And the other things I was talking about, like the fertilizers and any kind of chemicals that are put on the land, those affect like nitrate levels and phosphate levels. So you don't have to do a deep dive on this, but you just want to make sure that, whatever topic you're choosing is going to, and you can review these processes as well to just kind of make sure. But like I said, I know for a fact that 99% of the time, these two are definitely affected. All right, so in your journal document, you're going to answer the following. You're going to introduce the environmental issue and state why it's a pressing issue. You are required to cite 2 credible sources for this assignment, and we're going to get to that in a second. Then you're going to describe how the issue impacts you personally, and then you're going to discuss one local or regional problem associated with, why is this on mute? Associated with this issue. Sorry, my computer was having some issues. So this is what you're going to include in your assignment. So let's talk about what citing sources is. So there's a wonderful website called Scribr. I'm going to show you how to use it in just a second, where you can just copy and paste a website and put it in there, and it will actually generate the APA citation for you. So like here's an example of a APA citation that I took from a website. You're going to also want to use in-text citations to show where you are using the reference. So this is your reference, and this would be the in-text citation. So it's going to be either the author of whatever you chose, or the organization and the year it was published. So what's going to happen is let's say that you pulled out 2 sentences from this reference. You're going to put those sentences in your paper, and then at the end of them, you put this in-text citation to show, okay, I got this information from this article. So let's look at what that looks like. So we're going to go ahead and go to, so this is the website, it's Scribr. And what you will do is you will, let's say I look up dead zones are harmful. Okay, and I want to use the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, right? I find something in there that I really like. So I'm going to copy the website, and I'm actually going to, because it's a website, I'm going to choose this. I'm going to paste it. It's going to, you click on that, and it's going to populate it, right, with the title. And then if you do not know the publication date, so you might have to look on the article itself, but it doesn't look like it's here. Yeah. So what you'll do instead is you'll say, okay, the date that I accessed it, you'll put the name. And it's not, completely smart. So like, for instance, the title is actually Dead Zones. So that's the title of the article. And then there is no author, but there is an organization who published it. So you would put right, you'd put who the organization is, and it's right there. So once you have all that information and you're sure that it's correct, you would hit cite source. Okay, obviously I left something out. Oh, publication date. Okay, so we don't know the publication date, so we say unknown, but we did access it today. And so now we're going to hit cite source, and then there is your source. So your in-text citation would be Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and then this ND, which means no date. But you would click on this and it would actually copy your reference and you'd put it at your reference list. All right, so that's how to do your citations. So now let's actually look at this document. So when you go into Module 1, it will tell you, here is your final project guidelines. And then it kind of talks about how you do the assignment, but I already went over that with you. So what you really want to look at is this rubric, because this is how I grade you. And so I also tell my students to use this as kind of a checklist. So, right, like, okay, I selected a pressing environmental issue, check. Oh, I forgot my introduction and I don't have my sources. Okay, so I need to go back into my document and fix that. So just use this as your checklist when you do this assignment. Now, I kind of talked about how, doing a really, really good job on this will serve you well in the upcoming weeks, because when you get to Module 3, you have your Milestone 1. And when you look at the document that you have to do, you will see that the information from your journal will actually appear here again, because right here, okay, you identify the local environmental issue, describe its impact on a global level, and what human activities are causing the problem. And then citations, right? So you have technically done this in your journal assignment, so you would just need to put that information in here and refine it a little bit to make sure it's meeting this criteria, especially if you didn't score well on the journal assignment. And then right here, you're describing the impact on your local community, which you did in your journal assignment. So you're just putting that information in here and talking, refining it more. This is not a direct copy and paste, but you have a lot of that information already. Then this is where we get into the ecological processes. And I promise I will cover this more in week 3. But this is where students get thrown in week 3 and week 5, because you have to talk about how your environmental issue is affecting these processes. So that's why I try to warn you ahead of time and say, hey, make sure you're looking to see if it's actually affecting, this process. And you can go through these, like Module 4, Module 5, and look at the assignments and see, what is being asked of you to help you choose an environmental issue as well. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help you. And we can, work together if you're struggling with anything. All right, so that is all, and I look forward to reading your journal assignments.